Could begin in Alabama before the 2020 growth. He expects a request to the legislature for additional funding and resources to put a hemp program in place. In the newsroom, Alex Stokes, WHNT News 19.
Coming up, what's driving the stock market sell-off? We'll look at the impact of interest rates, jobs, and housing. Plus, we talk with former NFL player Ray Rice and his wife about domestic violence and how he's using his experience to help other athletes. Coming up on CBS This Morning.
What to do after an accident to protect your case. It can make the difference between a small settlement and a large settlement.
File a police report and seek medical attention immediately.
We know you're right. We will help you protect.
Letter marquee, because your case matters.
Hey, it's your pal, the $6 billion man. Remember how happy you were getting me as a kid? Feel that way again. Honda Accord during Happy Honda Days. It comes with a standard turbocharged engine and Honda Sensing, a suite of safety and driver assist features. Yep, they really did build the Accord for better, stronger, faster. Wait, what have I heard that before? It's something you'll love during Happy Honda Days with great deals on the Honda Accord. Hurry in, it ends soon.
How big is Jack's Big Bacon? Bigger than the backyard back. Or bragging rights. Big as this one. Okay, not quite. The Big Bacon and Fries, just $4.99. Or go bigger with the new Big Bacon Ranch. 2 huge beef patties, pepper jack, crisp bacon, and cool ranch. 'Tis the season to go big. The classic Big Bacon or new Big Bacon Ranch, just $4.99 with fries. Jack's, all about the South.
It's time to wrap it up and drive one home. The 2018s have got to go. At locally owned Bentley Hyundai in Huntsville. While they last, save $6,000 off on Hyundai Sonata SE. $5,000 off on Hyundai Elantra Value Edition. Finally, $5,000 off on the 2018 Tucson Limited. Wrapping up 90 years, celebrating 5 generations of automotive excellence. Alabama's #1 volume Hyundai dealer. Bentley Hyundai, where you always drive one home for less.
The moment you realize you can check off your to-do list and wish list. At Lowe's, you can satisfy both your lists on the same budget. Shop Lowe's and save $60 on the DeWalt 20-volt max cordless drill.
The concert that rocked the Las Vegas Strip for 9 years. The Drifters. Cornell Hunters Coasters. And the Platters. Together, singing all of their hits. Saturday, January 12th at the Von Braun Center Concert Hall. Tickets on sale now at the VBC box office and Ticketmaster.com.
Join WHNT News 19 for a legend featuring rock's biggest guitarists that benefits our military, veterans, and first responders. America Salutes You presents Guitar Legends 2, Saturday, December 22nd on WHNT News 19.
A man is facing charges after investigators say he shot a woman at a home in Limestone County. 33-year-old Corey Ferris is charged with second-degree assault. Deputies responded to the house on Highway 127 Monday afternoon with a woman with a gunshot wound to her shoulder. She's being treated at Huntsville Hospital. The circumstances around the shooting have not been released.
Marshall County man facing a possible life sentence for child pornography. A jury found Kenneth Wayne Innes guilty of possession and production of child pornography. In 2015, Boaz police officers arrested him at his home after someone found a cell phone in a parking lot. That phone contained pornographic images of children. No sentencing date has been set at this point.
The family of the man killed by a Hoover police officer is not happy. The state attorney general's office is now handling the case. The officer shot and killed 21-year-old Amantic E.J. Bradford Thanksgiving night at Roof Chase Galleria in Hoover. Police initially identified Bradford as the suspect in a shooting that had happened moments earlier, then backtracked, saying Bradford was holding a gun. Authorities later arrested another man for the initial shooting. The family says they worry the attorney general's office, which is now over the case, will be unfairly sympathetic to Hoover police. In a news conference Monday, the family and their attorney said Jefferson County District Attorney Danny Carr was elected by the people, so he should handle this case. Carr, who oversees the Birmingham division of Jefferson County, was told by Attorney General Steve Marshall the case required he recuse himself.
All the family want is for justice to be served for my son, our son. And by taking the case from Mr. Carr, we feel they are trying to protect this officer who killed my son.
If Carr can't prosecute the case, the family has asked for Jefferson County's Bessemer Division DA to oversee the investigation. The family also continues to call for the public release of all videos from the incidents.
Well, CBS This Morning is next. First, though, here's our top 3 things for your Tuesday morning. The meeting will be held tomorrow night for students and employees affected by the statewide closing of Virginia College. Students and faculty will learn about degree and training programs through the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. Meeting in Huntsville will be held at 2 o'clock in the afternoon at the Huntsville Career Center.
President Trump and Congress remains locked in a battle over funding for a southern border wall. Now, if they can't reach a government spending deal by the end of Friday, there will be a partial government shutdown. A new national poll finds 54% of Americans oppose a shutdown. About 25% of government workers will be impacted if the government does shut down midnight Friday.
And former CBS CEO Les Moonves will not receive his $120 million severance package. Moonves stepped down earlier this year after sexual harassment. His board of directors say he violated company policy and they have reason to fire him, so he will not get severance. The decision is without merit. All right, let's hear from Ben Smith one time and just kind of concentrate on today.
Yeah, the sunrise looks absolutely beautiful out there.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and we can actually see this morning, and we don't have to guess what we're looking at without. 20s and 30s, there is some frost out there, but a nice recovery in our temperatures this afternoon at 57. Tomorrow, 60 degrees, couple of isolated showers. Honestly, it's going to be a nice day if you could just get rid of the clouds. I think it's going to be a great Wednesday. Thursday and Friday, just forget about it. Rain is likely, some locally heavy downpours. We may have another 1 to 2 inches on top of the 5 inches we've already had in Huntsville for the month of December. And there may be enough cold air to have some of that rain mixed with a little bit of light snow on Friday afternoon, if not Friday night. At this point, it does not look like to be that big a deal. But hey, to have a few snowflakes in December come down, hey, it's put us in the spirit.
That's the first official day of winter, isn't it?
That's great. Yeah, winter will be here on Friday. It's the winter solstice. It'll be the shortest day of the year, so the days will be getting longer from here on out.
All right, man. The news is back in the morning. Coming up, what lawmakers working on trying to avoid that government shutdown. CBS This Morning starts right now.
Good morning to you. It's Tuesday, December 18th, 2018. Welcome to CBS This Morning. A government shutdown deadline is now just 3 days away, and budget talks, they've hit a wall. Why Republicans in Congress want the president to back off a demand for $5 billion to help build a border wall.
Stocks take another dive over concerns about the economy and a trade war with China. Only on CBS This Morning, President Trump's former chief economic advisor Gary Cohn looks at the market and the one-year impact of the GOP tax cuts.
It's been almost 5 years since pro football star Ray Rice was caught on video hitting his future wife, Janae. This morning, they tell Gail how new cases of domestic violence with NFL players affect them and how they work to stay together. Plus, the new movie Vice takes a hard look at Dick Cheney's pursuit of power. We'll talk to director Adam McKay and Oscar winner Christian Bale about the actor's stunning transformation into the former vice president. Want to see that? But we begin this morning with a look at today's eye-opener, your world in 90 seconds.
Former CBS CEO Les Moonves will not be receiving his $120 million severance package.
The board says there are grounds to terminate for cause.
CBS says no to a golden parachute for Les Moonves.
Moonves' attorney says the board's conclusions are without merit.
Former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn set to be sentenced this morning for lying to the FBI about his contacts with the Russian ambassador.
He was lying to the FBI in a serious matter. Former FBI Director James Comey slammed Republicans for not speaking out against President Trump's attacks against the FBI.
You need to stand on your feet, overcome your shame, and say something.
2 Chicago police officers are dead after being hit by a train. The 2 were responding to a report of shots fired.
There are no words that can express the grief. This knocks you back on your heels.
Stocks took another major tumble. The Dow plunged more than 500 points, pushing stocks to the lowest mark in more than a year.
All that Fresh Prince of Bel-Air actor Alfonso Ribeiro suing the creators of Fortnite and NBA 2K for using his signature Carlton dance.
And all that matters.
I can get them both. I don't want to choose, and I'm quick. Like that man, also don't get comfortable.
this morning.
I have a Lambo, I have a Lamborghini truck,
Yeah.
I have a Bentley truck, I have a Maybach, and I have a Suburban. So
Okay,
5.
5 cars. Now, here's my biggest question. You can't drive.
No.
So what's the point of having cars?
To take pictures with it.
That's practical, right? Cardi B likes cars. Well, a good-looking car looks good in a picture. So, yes, go her. I have a subway pass. Yeah,
Right. Sometimes
That's cute too.
I take pictures with my dog.
That always works. Well, as you can see, the gang's all back.
Yeah.
Gang's back in the house.
Yeah.
Good morning to everyone at home. Welcome to CBS This Morning. And there is no sign of a solution to Washington's Christmas budget standoff that threatens to shut down much of the government. President Trump is standing firm, but he doesn't seem to have enough Republicans standing with him.
The White House and Congress have until midnight on Friday to agree on funding for the president's proposed border wall, which Democrats oppose. Republican lawmakers say they're in the dark about a plan to avoid a weekend shutdown. Major Garrett is at the White House. Hey, Major, what is the administration's strategy?
Well, look, Washington knows that government shutdowns, even partial ones, are inefficient, costly, and politically hazardous. But Washington's heading toward one because the president, President Trump, doesn't appear to have a strategy to avert one. Or if he does, he hasn't shared it with congressional Republican leaders. What does the president want? $5 billion to build the border wall on the U.S.-Mexico border, or at least part of it. But there's not enough votes in the House Republican caucus to do that. That diminishes the president's leverage. He can't get it passed in the Republican-led House or Senate. Aides here have suggested to the president a stopgap short-term spending bill into January, but that would be under new House Democratic management. The negotiations would be even tougher. The president's leverage diminished, so he wants to stand firm. But without the votes, he doesn't have many plausible political or strategic alternatives. Democrats have offered $1.3 billion of border security. That doesn't include very much for the wall. Accepting that would be a defeat the president would rather not take. So here we sit, waiting for the president to see if he can find a way to victory or recalibrate or redescribe defeat.
So, Major, the president has an acting chief of staff, Mick Mulvaney, who was once a conservative member of Congress, used to play footsie with the idea of shutdowns when he was there. So what's his role here in this drama?
Well, he is leading the talks to try to avert a government shutdown, but also prepare the government in case there is one and partial government funding expires midnight Friday. He's also shadowing Chief of Staff John Kelly. Why? In preparation to become the full Chief of Staff January 2nd. Excuse me, John.
Thank you, Major.
Thanks.
The president's former national security advisor, Michael Flynn, will be sentenced later this morning. The retired general admitted lying to the FBI about his contacts with Russia's then U.S. ambassador, Sergei Kislyak, in 2016. Now, Flynn is one of 5 Trump aides who have entered guilty pleas in the special counsel probe. Now, in a very unusual tweet this morning, the president wished him good luck and said Flynn's been under tremendous pressure. Paula Reed is outside U.S. District Court in Washington. Paula, we know that the special counsel has praised Michael Flynn for giving substantial assistance to the government. Is that why he may not face much time in prison?
Exactly. The expectation today is that he may be spared any time in prison for that substantial assistance. Now, since he pleaded guilty about a year ago, he has met with the special counsel 19 times. He's the only person in the entire special counsel investigation who Mueller has recommended receive no jail time. But what we don't know is exactly what he has shared with investigators during those interviews. The only thing we know is that he has provided evidence about contacts between the Trump transition team and Russia.
We have heard from Flynn's team, his defense team, that he should face a light sentence because he was caught off guard by the FBI. Is that a fair defense by them? And explain again for everybody exactly what Flynn is accused of doing.
That's right. Flynn's lawyers argue that he was not told that lying to the FBI was a crime. But Nora, the special counsel pushed back pretty hard on that. They reminded the court this was a voluntary interview. He invited FBI investigators to the White House. And they also point out this is a man who had 3 decades in public service, often working very closely with the FBI. And he should not have had to have been reminded that lying to the FBI is a crime.
All right, Paula, thank you so much. The Federal Reserve begins a 2-day meeting today and is expected raise interest rates. Now, this comes amid sharp stock declines that are hammering Americans' 401ks. That's not good. The Dow plunged 507 points yesterday. All 30 Dow stocks declined, and the S&P 500 dropped 54 points. It's down nearly 5% for the year. CBS News financial contributor Melody explained the market uncertainty and joins us at the table. Hey, Melody, good to see you. Good morning. So it really is, because investors, as you know, do not like uncertainty. This was the lowest in 14 months. So what's the deal?
Well, the market doesn't like uncertainty either, and this is the story. We've got uncertainty in spades right now. So it's not tomorrow's Federal Reserve meeting. They've widely telegraphed that they're going to raise rates tomorrow. It's what are they going to do in 2019? That has the market rattled. On top of that, we have our politics weighing on this market. Will we have a government shutdown on Friday or not? No one knows. Let's go to the UK and Brexit. How are they going to leave the European Union? Theresa May survived a no confidence vote last week, but she still feels like she's got one foot on ice and another on a banana peel. We've got Macron's troubles in France, and we've got this trade skirmish. All of that uncertainty is weighing on this market.
I read one Wall Street analyst said if Santa Claus doesn't show up soon, U.S. stocks are going to end up in negative territory for the year.
Okay, but let's put that in perspective. It's been a decade since we've had a down year. 10 years. Now, the last down year, 2008, that was a doozy, but this is not normal that the market goes up for 10 years. So we should know trees do not grow to the sky. I've said that before. Down markets do happen, but the upward trajectory of the stock market is up.
Is this your way of saying don't freak out?
Yes, and we've gotten used to no volatility. The market has been unusually calm over the last decade. I know it doesn't feel like that, but it really has. This is more normal. We're just not used to it.
We started the show with a potential government shutdown. What impact would that have on the stock market?
I don't think it would be a good thing. It just, again, gets to the dysfunction in our politics. I think everyone knows at some point the government is going to function, that we're not going to, go for any extended period of time without the government functioning. We've had this happen before, and so that's a good thing. But I think at the end of the day, it just shows that these are self-inflicted wounds, and it just shows that anything can happen. This is not rational. A government shutdown is not rational.
And as you said, many headwinds facing the market and the economy as well.
But a lot of good news out there. The U.S. economy is strong. Unemployment still super low. Things have been going well. The fundamentals look good, even if the growth is starting to slow around the world.
Our blood pressure has just gone down a little bit.
Yes,
Melody, here on set. Thank you, Melody.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Well, CBS says former chairman and CEO Leslie Moonves will not get the $120 million severance payment his contract called for. The CBS board of directors said yesterday there are grounds to terminate Moonves for cause, allowing the company to block that payout. Board members made the decision after reading the results of an independent investigation into sexual misconduct allegations against Moonves and the overall culture at CBS. Jerika Duncan is here with the board's description of that report. Jerika, good morning.
Good morning, Bianna. Two law firms were investigating allegations against Leslie Moonves to help the CBS board decide if it had the grounds to terminate him without severance pay. Well, the board said yesterday investigators found it did. Once a television titan, Leslie Moonves' more than two-decade career at CBS came to an end in September after multiple women came forward accusing him of sexual misconduct and retaliation. On Monday, CBS moved to deny Moonves his $120 million golden parachute, saying its outside investigation concluded he violated company policies, breached his contract, and failed to cooperate fully with their investigation. Just last week, Moonves faced allegations from another high-profile accuser.
He says, well, why don't you let me take you home? I said, no, I've got to ride.
After Sybil Shepherd claimed her CBS show Sybil was taken off the air in 1998 after she rejected Moonves' advances.
How soon after that, then, did you find issues with the series? Quite shortly afterwards. Unbelievable. Do you think back to that day and wonder if things had gone differently, what would have happened to the show?
It would have run another 5 years. While CBS's full report has not been released, the New York Times says it reviewed a leaked draft in which investigators say they found issues with CBS's anti-harassment and other policies. They found Moonves and about 30 other senior leaders were typically allowed to sidestep anti-harassment training, and some senior people in the news division historically had their assistants complete the training for them. Over the past year, CBS News has faced scrutiny. It fired 60 Minutes executive producer Jeff Fager for sending a threatening message to this reporter, and it fired CBS This Morning co-host Charlie Rose over sexual misconduct allegations. But the CBS board said Monday investigators concluded harassment and retaliation are not pervasive at the company. We asked 16 employees here at the CBS News division about that conclusion. One employee told us they agree with the board's assessment, but another employee said a culture of harassment is being overlooked here. A different employee told us they feel secrecy allowed the problems at CBS to fester for decades, and without transparency, this process has zero credibility. They must release the investigators' report. CBS declined to answer additional questions when we reached out, including whether it plans to release the report. The company did say it has begun to take robust steps to improve the working environment for all employees. An attorney for Moonves said in a statement that conclusions of the CBS board were foreordained and are without merit, adding Moonves vehemently denies any non-consensual sexual relations and cooperated extensively and fully with investigators. Moonves has also previously denied retaliating against women. It is unclear right now if Moonves will fight the decision on his pay. John?
All right, Jerika, thank you.
Well, it's clear that the reckoning continues, and you can't provide solutions until you know fully what the problem is and what exists. And so that secrecy that still exists, the people that have covered up that behavior, that still needs to be clarified until we can make the meaningful changes. And I do believe that those on the board, there are now 6 women on the board, there are 5 men, it is a majority female board, that they are pushing for change.
And the board says they want transparency and they want to do the right thing. I'm also from the camp of we have to see what's in the report so we know exactly what we're dealing with and how you can change it and how you can get rid of the people that no longer need to be here who are still involved in whatever this behavior is. I do think it's a brand new day. Well, let's say I hope it's a brand new day.
I think we're gonna have to wait till the new year,
Yeah,
that new day. We have been promised that a new day is on the horizon, and we are holding firm to that idea.
New day in the new year. The wife of a former U.S. Army commando charged with murder says she would welcome a pardon from President Trump. Major Matthew Goldstein was charged last week in the killing of a suspected bomb maker in Afghanistan who allegedly killed 2 U.S. Marines in 2010. Goldstein could face the death penalty. President Trump tweeted Sunday that Goldstein is a U.S. military hero and that he would review the case. David Martin spoke with Julie Goldstein last night.
One of the implications of that tweet is that the president might pardon Gary. Are you hoping for a pardon?
As I said before, whatever it takes to have justice for Matt, if it's a pardon, great.
So just for the record, did your husband assassinate this suspected bomb maker?
Assassinate? No. My husband took care of an enemy combatant who did harm, planning to do more harm to not only American soldiers, but the Afghan civilians that he was there and told to protect as well.
President Trump can pardon someone before trial, but legal experts say his Twitter comments on the case could violate military law. The White House has not said what the president actually plans to do.
A woman from Yemen who wants to fly to California to visit her dying child is being denied entry to the U.S. because of a controversial travel ban. 2-year-old Abdullah Hassan, a U.S. citizen, is on life support at a children's hospital in Oakland. His mother is barred from flying to the U.S. by President Trump's so-called Muslim ban and is stuck more than 7,500 miles away in Egypt. Maria Villarreal spoke with the boy's father, a U.S. citizen who is begging the Trump administration to let his family reunite one last time.
I'm literally seeing my son dying in front of my eyes.
Ali Hassan's son, Abdullah, has a degenerative brain disease and has been on life support for over a month, suffering from seizures and unable to open his eyes or breathe on his own. It's been about 5 weeks since Abdullah smiled at his father.
So hard for me to that day.
What were you telling him?
We were just hugging him so hard and we were just looking at him and smiling. That's that. Esta es la cena sin fun.
Why have you chosen to keep him on life support?
To have a chance for his mother to come see him.
Hassan met his wife, Shema Suela, in war-torn Yemen. After giving birth, Suela fled to Egypt with Abdullah. As their son's health deteriorated, Hassan, a U.S. citizen, decided to take Abdullah, also a U.S. citizen, to doctors in California, but he had to leave his wife behind. As a Yemeni citizen, she can't enter the U.S. under the Trump administration's travel ban, targeting several Muslim-majority nations. The president says that this ban was necessary to keep our country safe. Do you believe that's what's happening here?
No. I mean, anyone that comes to the U.S., they're not going to come and just do anything bad, you know? They come in for family.
Hassan, backed by a coalition of faith and community groups, is asking for a temporary humanitarian parole visa for his wife to enter the country.
It is immoral for us to just stand by and watch as this mother mourns so far away alone.
For CBS This Morning, Mireya Villarreal, Sacramento.
Well, this story is not over. The State Department says consular offices can grant waivers on a case-by-case basis. It could depend on whether granting one is in the national interest. The applicant doesn't pose a security threat, and denying it would cause undue hardship.
Women are centuries behind men when it comes to pay parity ahead. The new report showing how women are being held back. But first, it is 7:18, almost 7:19. Time to check your local weather.
A great day in the forecast today. A little chilly outside this morning, but a decent recovery up to 57 this afternoon. Down to 37 tonight. Now, there will be more clouds in the forecast tomorrow. A couple of isolated showers. Highs around 60. Not that big a deal, but the 7-day forecast, definitely a soaker on Thursday and Friday. We could see another inch to 2 inches of rainfall. Perhaps a brief period of some light snow coming in on late Friday. Should be a nice weekend with highs in the 50s.
Later. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is now the #1 movie in America.
Not bad, kid.
It's flat out the best movie of the year.
Who are you? Peter Parker.
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Is PG.
So what'd you get paid for Christmas?
Has more Golden Globe nominations than any movie this year, including Best Picture of the Year. Hot damn! Dick, you are terrifying. Vice, rated R.
And we have much more news ahead. The creators of the popular video game Fortnite are being sued for allegedly stealing a move made famous by the show Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Well, it's the first of its kind mission for SpaceX, how it's putting a satellite into orbit that will help all of us get around.
And ex-football star Ray Rice says the video that showed him hitting his future wife put him on a positive path.
My imprint on life won't be by how many touchdowns or a Super Bowl or whatever. Those stats won't matter if I don't help save some lives.
Ahead, Gail talks with Ray and Janae Rice nearly 5 years after that violent encounter changed both their lives. You're watching CBS This Morning.
This portion of CBS This Morning, sponsored by Johnsonville, a family-owned sausage company where everything is made the Johnsonville way.
In my Johnsonville, we open up in the forest. I'm out in the wild eating my breakfast. A raccoon comes up and says, "Are those bigger patties?" I said, "Yep, fits on a biscuit."
What they did to you. And it's like hell. It's a hate crime.
I was a hell of a good artist, and now I can barely write my name. So I created a world where I can heal.
At your service, mademoiselle.
Are all of the dolls people you know?
Yeah. Everyone has a place here in Marwin.
There's Carlala. You can't keep on running away from Julie. You gotta love the pain. Pain is our rocket fever.
Roberta. And Nicole.
I just moved in across the street. The only way you're gonna get better is if you face those jerks who beat you up. I'm really sorry to do this. We got your
director of Forrest Gump.
Bottoms up, girls.
To life, to love, to the women of Marwin.
Hell yeah.
Welcome to Morwen. Maybe the dolls should stay in the car.
I never go anywhere without my backup.
Rated PG-13.
Take a moment to unwrap and unwind with Lindor. A milk chocolate shell with a smooth melting center, crafted by the Linked master chocolatiers, whenever, wherever. Lindor, only from Lindt.
For you, it's always leap over look, now over later, and pause not even in your vocabulary. So when a cold sore tingle strikes, you act on it. Only Abreva can get rid of a cold sore in as little as 2.5 days when used at the first sign. It starts to work immediately to block the virus and protect healthy cells. Nothing gets rid of a cold sore faster. And because Abreva acts on it, you can too. Act on it with Abreva.
Remember that degree you got in taxation? Of course you don't, because you didn't. Your job isn't doing hard work. It's making them do hard work and getting paid for it.
Snap and sort your expenses to save over $4,600 at tax time. QuickBooks, backing you.
Come and help me. Let's see about this big.
This is my winter song, 'cause you're not where you belong, inside my own.
Toyota, let's go places.
Super Emma just about sleeps in her cape. But when we realized she was battling sensitive skin, we switched to Tide Pods Free and Gentle. It's gentle on her skin and out cleans the other free and clear detergent. Dermatologist recommended. It's gotta be Tide.
When it comes to milk, Fairlife is ultra filtered for 50% more protein and 50% less sugar. Wake up to a one-of-a-kind kind of milk. Fairlife.
It's Macy's one-day sale with over 25,000 deals of the day, like diamond jewelry all ready to give, $99. 1,000 thread count sheet sets, $38.99, and 60% off coats for the whole family. Macy's one-day sale starts Tuesday.
Watch this. You'll thank me later.
And Into the Spider-Verse is now the #1 movie in America.
Not bad, kid.
It's flat out the best movie of the year.
Who are you? Peter Parker.
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Rated PG.
You're watching CBS This Morning.
Severe weather is devastating. The Weather Authority is here to help you prepare for what's coming.
There's a chance that a tornado could develop about any moment, so I want you to be in your safe place.
Accuracy is key. You get it from Chief Meteorologist Jason Simpson.
There was a circle and then all these lightning strikes. And he said, this is probably where it is right now. Well, that's where we were.
WHNT News 19 is. You're watching North Alabama's news leader. And now, your WHNT News 19 update.
Well, good morning at 7:26. I'm Melissa Riaki. Here are the morning headlines. Vice President Mike Pence is set to announce an order creating a U.S. Space Command today. And two officials say it will happen at Florida's Kennedy Space Center. President Donald Trump is expected to sign the executive order very soon, by the end of the year, in fact. The order would be separate from the president's goal of creating a Space Force as an independent armed service branch, but a step in that direction. The command would be tasked with better protecting U.S. military satellites. A man is facing charges after shooting in Limestone County. 33-year-old Corey Ferris is charged with second-degree assault. Deputies responded to a home on Highway 127 Monday where they found a woman with a gunshot wound to her shoulder. The victim was taken to a local hospital. The circumstances around the shooting have not been released. Ben?
A great start to the day. Not as much fog out there this morning. You can see a live shot now in downtown Florence. Temperature is at 32 degrees over in the Shoals, and the fog not nearly as dense as it was yesterday. yesterday. A little fog on Highway 72 here through Scottsboro and the Paint Rock Valley. Up in southern middle of Tennessee, and around Meridianville, there was some locally dense fog earlier. 32 Meridianville, 33 degrees in Huntsville. There is some scattered frost out there early this morning. Temperature is much colder compared to this time yesterday. Overall, a great afternoon. Just a mixture of clouds and sunshine. Temperatures today will be around 56 by 3 o'clock. The high is 57. Enjoy today, and I think tomorrow should be fine as well. The 7-day forecast has a couple of isolated showers tomorrow, but a chilly, rainy afternoon coming up on Thursday into Friday. Another 1 to 2 inches on top of what we've already had for the month of December. Could end as a brief period of light snow, but at this point shouldn't be that big a deal. And then a decent weekend. That's your update. We'll see you back here in less than 30 minutes.
The year may be ending, but the savings are just beginning at Story Lee Furniture. Just imagine 3 football fields full of furniture, and half of everything in the store is half off. Story Lee's half off, half of everything sale absolutely ends December 31st. 'Twas the best Christmas ever, and no one would forget it.
Because University Kid proved their auto credit.
Because the credit clinic is back today and tomorrow at University Kia. If you bring $350 a week, the credit clinic can approve you today. The credit clinic has helped thousands of people get the credit approval they deserve. And now it's your turn. During the Light Up the Holiday sales event, new 2019 Kia sold for only $14,589. Don't miss the credit clinic today and tomorrow. When you come to University Kia, you're not a customer.
You are family.
Getting hurt in a car wreck can ruin your day, but talking to the insurance company before calling us can ruin your life. Pick up the phone and call us first. We'll deal with the insurance company and work to keep you out of court.
I looked it up yesterday because the day before all I had was a 2-inch.
How big is Jack's Big Bacon?
Inch that I just kind of had
Bigger
for an
than the
emergency.
backyard battle.
Oh,
Or
she gave
bragging
me this
rights.
one. Actually, Neil gave
Big
me
as
this one.
this moment. Okay, not quite.
And I could
The
do
Big
it. I
Bacon
could
and
breathe.
fries, just $4.99. Or go bigger with the new Big Bacon Ranch. 2
Much better
patties,
today.
pepper jack, crisp bacon, and
No,
corn
man,
ranch.
it's not
Tis the
bad.
season to go big. The classic Big Bacon or new Big Bacon Ranch, just $4.99 with fries. Jack's, all about the South.
After a car wreck, you're in pain, you're missing work, and doctor's bills are piling up. But getting the help you need is only 1 call away. I'm Attorney Charles Cook.
Charles Pickett is the way to go. Call 533-5000. The year may be ending, but the savings are just beginning at Story Lee Furniture. Just imagine 3 football fields full of furniture, and half of everything in the store is half off. Story Lee's half off, half of everything sale absolutely ends December 31st.
Almost 6:30. I'm getting held back till 6.
Welcome back to CBS This Morning. Here are 3 things you should know this morning. The Trump administration is preparing to launch a second and final aid package to farmers affected by the trade war with China. An initial round of assistance payments was authorized in July. A total of around $9.5 billion in payments will be sent to producers of dairy, corn, soybeans, and other crops. The government will also spend $1.2 billion on food purchases. Some farmers have criticized the plan for being too small. Other conservatives have criticized it for being a total breach in conservative policy.
It was cold,
The
and
idea
I'm
is
pretty
to
much
offset the impact of the
overdressed.
trade conflict.
Put on long john pants and everything.
Suggests it will take
It's cold in
202
damn new
years for
construction
women to
houses,
have equal
man.
pay
You walk
and
outside,
equal
it'll be
job
warm.
opportunities. Okay.
You go inside and it's
Found women
fucking
earn about half as
20
much as men.
degrees
It says a
difference
lack of
from
child care
outside
and
to
elder
inside.
care programs are part
In
of
the
the
wrong
reason
direction.
why many women are not working. The group also says new technology like robots and artificial intelligence are taking jobs traditionally held by women like customer service and telemarketing. Merry Christmas.
Only 202 more years to go.
Oh,
Well, actually,
Will we be here for 202 years?
we're almost there.
Yeah, we're almost there, right?
Glass half
I'm
full
getting
here.
back with plans out in case
Yeah, mark your calendar.
they fucking
And a
keep
group
trying
of
to play me.
astronomers just discovered the farthest known object in our solar system.
Can't
The
do that.
International Astronomical Union nicknamed the pink cosmic body Far Out.
I'm gonna get something
It's
else
about
in route
11
in case this
billion
plays
miles
out.
away from the sun. That's 120 times the distance between the sun and the Earth. The previous record holder was a dwarf planet that's
They
about
did
9
so spin
billion
up on
miles
spots
away.
and then he
When hotel
fucking
security video surfaced last month showing Kansas City
lose
Chiefs
focus
running back
without it,
Kareem
like I
Hunt
can't
in
without
a physical
alcohol.
fight with a woman, it reminded many people of another incident
And that's who
involving
they got
an
me
NFL
paired
player
with.
nearly 5 years ago. You may remember in February 2014, Baltimore Ravens running back Ray Rice was seen dragging his unconscious fiancee out of an elevator. A second video revealed later showed that Rice had punched her and knocked her out in the elevator. His team dropped him and he has not played professional football since. Rice and his fiancée, her name is Janae, married just weeks after the incident, and they now have 2 children. In an interview you'll see only on CBS This Morning, we spoke to Ray and Janae Rice at their Connecticut home last week. We learned how they're making their marriage work and why they stayed together, and how the Green Hunt video has affected their lives. So I'm wondering what you thought when you first saw the Green Hunt tape.
Well, obviously, you know, you look back and you see the similarities. I knew that our name was going to get brought up in the conversation.
I do think people certainly see you as a poster boy for domestic violence caught in a very graphic way on tape. And how do you feel about that?
Early on, you could feel like, oh, why they keep bringing my name up. You can make excuses, or you can actually do the hard work.
I've heard you say that there are many underlying things, and as you've had time to reflect and really do a deep dive for both of you,
yes.
What was the answer you came up for yourself about the underlying issues?
One of the underlying issues for me was I never wanted to ask for help. Football for me was my counseling. It was my therapy. It was my psychologist. It was everything.
Did you see domestic abuse in your own home when you were growing up?
It was more of my mom going through, you know, a bad relationship. That's when I started to realize I was normalizing abnormal things. I was a man at 11, and then at 21, I got drafted and became a boy.
And that was a revelation to you about there are many different kinds of abuse. Is that what you're saying to us?
Yes, that's
and how to process that?
Yes, we didn't have a physical abuse problem, but I can say there were different forms of abuse that took place. Was it emotional, financial? You get to the physical, and that's obviously like, if it's one time, it's still one time too many.
I'm curious, Janae, did you think that you were in an abusive relationship, knowing what he just said, that there are many different forms of abuse?
No,
You did not.
I just thought we were being a typical, boyfriend and girlfriend. Like we argue and I didn't really sit back and think about it until I was forced to think about it.
Janae Rice has never seen the video from inside the elevator, the one where Ray punches her. I think it's so hard for people to understand why you haven't looked at that tape.
I was there. Yeah. I lived it. I don't really need to relive it over and over again just to appease the world.
You've also said that was the first and only time.
Yes.
What do you think, Ray, when you look at it now?
I hate that person. I hate him. Somewhere down the line, everybody was saying, does he deserve a second chance for football and this, that, and the other. I actually got my second chance right here.
With your wife?
During my darkest moments, I used to ask myself, how could she even want to support me? But
a lot of people wondered that.
That's understandable. But I think what's misunderstood about us is that the friends we were before the incident. That's why, like I said, when I look at Kareem's Hunt, I want to know what his life was like. I want to know what happened in life. I know Kareem has apologized and has expressed remorse for the survivors of domestic violence.
But you know what, guys? Apologies mean nothing if people don't feel, A, you've done the work.
You've done the work. Yes.
And that you're truly remorseful, and that this isn't just some attempt to get back into football.
Well, see, that for me is something that I understand why was being said early on about, is this a ploy to get back into football? I mean, I'll be the first one to say it. I don't have to retire to tell you I'm done with football. The pressure I was under of being a star, that was the person I hated the most.
Why did you give this man a second chance?
I know it's hard for people to understand.
It is.
And I'm not here to force people to understand. It was never a thought whether I was going to leave or not, because I knew that wasn't him in that moment. This is somebody I've known since I was 15 years old. I knew that we had work to do, and I was willing to move forward and put in the work.
You said that you don't want to play football again, Ray, but do you think you deserve a second chance?
No, I didn't deserve another chance.
How seriously do you think the NFL is taking domestic abuse?
I've met with them. I met with NFL. They're trying to do the right thing. I know they are working with groups to try to get more of an understanding and they're doing the work.
In addition to Kareem Hunt, the NFL is also dealing with Reuben Foster. Last month, the San Francisco 49ers released the linebacker after a domestic violence arrest. Just days later, the Washington Redskins signed him, though he's ineligible to play or practice with the team while the NFL continues to investigate. How can people take that the NFL is taking abuse against women seriously?
I know the NFL, they're not trying to push people who do bad things or abuse against women. They're not trying to push those guys on the field.
Have you spoken to Kareem Hunt?
No, I haven't.
Do you want to?
I would love to help anyone that's willing to go the long haul.
Well, we reached out to the NFL, which confirmed that Rice shared his story as part of the league's domestic violence education program. The NFL says that Rice has an important message to share and that his commitment is sincere. And if you're a victim of domestic violence and you need help, you can call the National Domestic Violence Hotline. That's 1-800-799-7233. I also thought that his commitment is very sincere. He does a lot of speaking to NFL players and to college players. He's coaching high school football at his old high school. He volunteers there. But I was really impressed with Janae Rice, I have to say. She's not a little mouse burger robot wife, because I couldn't understand after knowing and seeing that video how she was able to take him back. And she says that this was the first and only time I really on that, because I said that defies everything that we know about domestic violence in any type of relationship, and they both insist that was the case.
Well, remember, he not only punched her, he knocked her unconscious. The first videotape that we saw was just of Ray Rice dragging her, and then I had that interview with Roger Goodell.
Yes, I remember that.
At the time, but I am glad to say they seem like they are in a good place, and they are getting therapy. They need to discuss this and maybe try and help people learn something more about domestic violence, whether they were a victim of it themselves and then repeated that behavior and how to end it.
Yeah, and that's about hard work, to your point. I mean, they've had extensive counseling. They still have counseling, and they credit the counselor. And another thing I think is very telling, her parents have been married for 30 years, and her parents support their relationship.
And as you pointed out, when people have been giving apologies recently, they have one answer. It's very short, and let me get back to the other thing.
Yeah.
There's no way you could sit in that interview and give the answers Ray Rice did. Yeah. That many answers at that depth without feeling it and feeling it.
He didn't run away from it, John, because I sort of had a judgmental attitude, I have to say. But he didn't run away from any of the questions, and they both embraced anything that we wanted to talk about.
To hear him say that he didn't deserve a second chance in the NFL was something most people don't expect.
And doesn't want to play football again, and his second chance is she gave him a second chance, and that's what matters to him. You can hear our full interview with Ray and Janae Rice on today's CBS This Morning podcast. It's also available on Apple's podcast app and all major audio platforms.
Actor Alfonso Ribeiro made the Carlton dance famous on the show Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Ahead, how he's taking on popular video game characters for allegedly stealing his moves.
Owen and Ray's.
You're watching CBS This Morning.
This is your wake-up call. If you have moderate to
That's the
severe
new big thing,
rheumatoid
man.
arthritis, month after month,
What's
the
that?
clock is ticking on irreversible joint damage. Ongoing
game.
pain
I
and
don't know if
stiffness
it's
are
through
signs of joint
Facebook or if
erosion.
it's
Humira can help stop the clock.
I don't know if it's an
Prescribed for
online
15
game or if
years,
it's through
Humira
Facebook
targets and
or
blocks a source of
whatever,
inflammation
but
that
it's
contributes to joint pain
a
and
game
irreversible
called
damage.
Fortnite.
Humira can lower your ability to fight
F-O-R-T
infections. Serious and sometimes
N-I-T.
fatal infections, including tuberculosis and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened. As have blood and immune system problems. Serious allergic reactions can lead to worsening Hepatitis B are prone to infections or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Don't start Humira if you have an infection.
Help stop the clock on further irreversible joint damage. Talk to your rheumatologist. Right here, right now. Humira. Say hello to the RoboJet mopping robot from iRobot. It's precision jet spray and vibrating cleaning head loosen and scrub stains, all while navigating kitchens, bathrooms, and those hard-to-reach places. You and RoboJet from iRobot. Better together.
Audiences have spoken. The favorite is a wicked delight.
Is it a bit like a party?
It is not like a party.
I think it is like a party.
A perfect analogy. Nominated for a leading 14 Critics' Choice Awards.
Is that not grand?
Yeah.
including Best Director and Best Ensemble. Yes, intrigued me. And 5 Golden Globe Awards, including Best Picture of the Year.
We won! Oh, it is not over. We must continue. Oh, I did not know that.
The Favorite, rated R.
My dad was in the hospital.
Because of smoking.
Still hard to have a cigarette.
Had to.
But then we were like,
What are we doing?
The Nicoderm CQ patch helps prevent your urge to smoke all day. Nicoderm CQ. You know why? We know how.
Alexa, dim the lights. Okay. Alexa, drop in on Charlie.
Let's go.
Nutella is sure to bring a smile for breakfast time. Get free decorating tools inside Nutella holiday jars.
My mom washes the dishes before she puts them in the dishwasher. So what does the dishwasher do?
Cascade Platinum does the work for you, pre-washing and removing stuck-on foods the first time.
Wow, that's clean.
Cascade Platinum.
Survivor Finale Wednesday. Only 6 remain
I have to be in charge of my own destiny out here.
for one final showdown.
This is a game with big stakes, $1 million stakes.
Who will win? David versus Goliath.
Let's finish this up.
The Survivor season finale, followed by the live reunion show, CBS Wednesday.
Make your list, check it twice, then make that short drive to Lynn Layton Nissan for the big year-end event. And right now we got great year-end discounts, folks, like tough full-size Titan, $1,000 off, and hardworking Nissan King Cabs, marked down to $19,988. Not one or two, got over 15 to choose. Check out all the best buys right now at LynnLaytonNissan.com. And Merry Christmas, folks, from all of us here at Lynn Layton Nissan. It's a better place. It really is a better way to buy a car.
It's not unusual.
Of the popular video game Fortnite faces more lawsuits from celebrities for allegedly using their famous dance moves. Like Pavlovian, you can't help but start dancing. Well, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air star Alfonso Ribeiro is suing Fortnite's creator Epic Games over his iconic Carlton dance. Vladimir Duchier of our streaming network, CBSN, is following the story and explains who else is making similar claims.
It's not unusual to see me cry.
When Alfonso Ribeiro created his Carlton dance on the set of the 1990 sitcom Fresh Prince, it became an instant pop culture classic. It's now one of more than 100 dances that players can buy in the wildly popular video game Fortnite. And at around $5 per dance, it's earned the game creators hundreds of millions of dollars. In a lawsuit, Ribeiro alleges Fortnite used his dance without permission or compensation. And he isn't the only artist to file suit against the game's creators. Instagram star Backpack Kid is also suing for allegedly using his dance called The Floss. And rapper 2 Milli filed a suit over his dance, The Milli Rock. We talked to him last month. What would make it fair for you?
I don't want to bash them for all the millions and you know what I'm saying? It's not even really like that. I just feel like I have to protect what's mine.
Business and entertainment lawyer Merlin Jean-Louis says lawsuits regarding ownership of these dance moves can be tricky.
There's a lot of case law suits are surrounding the copyright of music, lyrics, sound. There's a full body of case law related to that. But regarding choreographic works, that does not exist.
No case law yet. We also reached out to Epic Games, but have not yet heard back. Ribeiro does not have copyright to the Carlton dance, but says he was in the middle of copywriting it.
You better hurry up, and I could see why you'd be annoyed. John, what would we have to pay to see you do that? What is the figure?
Billions and billions. Billions.
I'll call her 1 billion.
Up next, a look at me not dancing, but this morning's other headlines, including a man makes a rare discovery worth thousands of dollars inside a New York City oyster bar. But first, it's 7:46. Time to check your local weather.
A great day in the forecast today. A little chilly outside this morning, but a decent recovery up to 57 this afternoon. Down to 37 tonight. Now, there will be more clouds in the forecast tomorrow. A couple of isolated showers. Highs around 60. Not that big a deal, but the 7-day forecast, definitely a soaker on Thursday and Friday. We could see another inch to 2 inches of rainfall. Perhaps a brief period of some light snow coming in late Friday. Should be a nice weekend with highs in the 50s.
This portion of CBS This Morning, sponsored by Colgate.
Unlike ordinary toothpaste, Colgate Total fights bacteria on teeth, tongue, cheeks, and gums for 12 hours. So you're totally ready for that big moment. Colgate Total, be totally ready for life.
It's Macy's one-day sale with over 25,000 deals of the day, like 40 to 50% off boots, handbags, and more. 25% plus an extra 25% off watches. And Charter Club Cashmere, $39.99. Macy's one-day sale starts Tuesday.
This has potassium. The same amount as this. It's a post-workout snack you don't have to peel. V8. The V is for vegetables. Drink some.
Well, here's to first dates. You look amazing.
And you look amazingly comfortable. When your V-neck looks more like a U-neck, that's when you know it's half washed. Add Downy to keep your collars from stretching. Unlike detergent alone, Downy conditions to smooth and strengthen fibers. So next time, don't half wash it. Downy, and it's done.
Take a moment to unwrap and unwind with Lindor. A milk chocolate shell with a smooth melting center, crafted by the Lindt master chocolatiers, whenever, wherever. Lindor, only from Lindt.
I want to be with you. Yes, I do. Everywhere you go, I want to be with you.
The greatest wish of all is one that brings us together. The Lincoln Wishlist event is here. Sign and drive off in a new Lincoln with 0 down, 0 due signing, and a complimentary first month payment. Only at your Lincoln dealer.
The day after chemo might mean a trip back to the doctor's office, just for a shot. But why go back there when you can stay home? With Neulasta Onpro, strong chemo can put you at risk of serious infection. In a key study, Neulasta reduced the risk of infection from 17% to 1%, a 94% decrease. Neulasta Onpro is designed to deliver Neulasta the day after chemo and is used by most patients today.
Neulasta is for certain cancer patients receiving strong chemotherapy. Do not take Neulasta if you're allergic to it, or Neupogen, filgrastim. An incomplete dose could increase infection risk. Ruptured spleen, sometimes fatal, as well as serious lung problems, allergic reactions, kidney issues, and capillary leak syndrome have occurred. Report abdominal or shoulder tip pain, trouble breathing, or allergic reactions to your doctor right away. In patients with sickle cell disorders, serious, sometimes fatal crises can occur. The most common side effect is bone and muscle ache.
If you'd rather be home, ask your doctor about Neulasta Onpro. Pay no more than $5 per dose with copay.
Nature's recipe knows flags that zig and flags that zag are fueled by purposeful recipes with high-quality protein. For bigger the life, bigger the lag.
Welcome back to CBS This Morning. Here's a look at some of this morning's headlines. Forbes reports on depression and anxiety may cause serious damage to your physical health. The study in health psychology found those suffering from depression and anxiety had a 50% or more higher risk for a heart condition, stroke, and high blood pressure. That's compared to those without depression and anxiety. The risk for arthritis was at 87%. That's higher than those who smoke and are obese.
The New York Times reports the recent expansion of tech companies and reshaping its identity from a finance, fashion, and media hub into a technology center. Yesterday, Google announced it will build a $1 billion campus of of Lower Manhattan, Amazon, Apple, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Uber have also started to expand in New York.
And CBS Philadelphia station KYW reports a man found a pearl and an oyster at a New York City restaurant. Rick Antosh of New Jersey was dining at the Grand Central Oyster Bar when he felt the pea-sized pearl rolling around in his mouth. Experts estimate it's worth between $2,000 and $4,000, but Antosh says he has no plans to sell it.
Oh, there's much more news ahead. We'll be right back. You're watching CBS This Morning.
If you have moderate to severe psoriasis or psoriatic arthritis, it can be That's why there's Otezla. Otezla is not an cream. It's a pill that treats differently. For psoriasis, 75% clearer skin is achievable with